Well, the good thing is that AshRand is back and we're
Yep.
better than ever. We have been really, really busy, but we got some gifts for you today. And Ashley, especially, has maybe one or two different things that she wants to announce because she's been working hard on coding up some stuff. And we'll get
Hmm.
to that. But AshRand is all about seeing how we can use our collective experience in our different spaces and the fact that we used to do this work and Ashley still does to
Hmm.
help you navigate this whole career life and maybe even business stuff. Ash, what are you thinking today?
And so I'm thinking today we can really get into the art of what it looks like to truly transition. Because right now with the job market, we understand that there's so much happening. And then with AI coming down the turnpike, some jobs may be eliminated. And right now you have to be able to plan how you can transition.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get into that today. And it's so exciting, but we definitely know that you need this nugget, right? Because it's time. And we
And the
don't
good
know
thing
what the
is,
future of the job is going to look like.
yeah, I've been reading a lot of old school companies that are being sold. Now, I got
Mhm.
friends that work at these old school companies. So I'm talking 20, 30 years at some of these companies. I know I only look 30, but y'all know what I mean. Yeah. So, and I'm wondering what's going to happen with these jobs. I've been looking at Steelcase. Now, here we are in Michigan, y'all. So
Hmm.
you may be seeing this somewhere else, but Steelcase, longtime employer of the West Michigan area,
Yeah.
sold.
Yep.
What was the other big one? It was another big one that got sold. Spartan Nash
Spartan Nash was definitely sold.
sold.
Hmm.
So that is a transition that a lot of people haven't necessarily been prepared to make, but they're having to make it. So what we want to do is we want to talk about even if you are ready to walk out, ready to leave, there's ways to do it. And then when you talk about transitioning, so we're going to go through a little bit for you. This workshop is going to be all about that. Okay, so here I'm going to show you a couple of things. We've got a gift for you, and one of those gifts is the art of leaving well. All right, this is the older version because I had to do some changes here. So we've
Hmm.
got this available for you. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about and get into how we see you being able to transition in such a wonderful way. If you are down with this, if you like all the stuff that we're going to be talking about, then we're going to leave ways for you to demonstrate that. So, even just right off the rip, the art of leaving well. Can you see this
Hmm.
all right, Ash?
Yeah, I can see it all right.
So, think about this for a minute.
Hmm.
We're going to be talking about some strategies. We're going to go back and forth. And we didn't even put it in let's do it from A to B. Because
Mm-mm.
we understand jobs are not like that. So when we start thinking about that, one of the things in these seven is what we're going to cover. And we'll go as long as we can, y'all. We're going
Yep.
to do as much as we can, but we may actually have to, leave a little bit for you to go and grab a little bit of it. So let's just walk down these. What the buy the book. We don't have to define them here because we did so inside, but let's look at them, Ash. What are you thinking?
And so, first off, when you are thinking about transitioning, some people don't look at it this way, but it is so important to show up like you did when you apply for the job. That transition has to be just as positive,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That same effort. And so when we're going down these seven different ways of leaving, we're going to talk about how you can be able to move from step by step.
Hmm.
But just remember, you want to be able to, again, leave as you showed up in that positive light, in that attitude, because essentially those individuals or that company that you're leaving could become a part of your network. Okay.
Ooh,
And so we all know that your network is your net worth and you need sponsors, and these people can potentially be that. So you always want to leave in that positive light. And so, with that, Randy, what are you thinking for those seven
yeah.
strategies we were talking about?
First, I want to tell y'all, we're not just, two people that just, got on here and just says, "Oh, we're going to talk about this." Now, if you look at some of our digital dust out there, I do quite a few things. I'm an entrepreneur, but I mean, my degrees, and you see actually the degrees behind her is one of my master's degree is in is in organizational development, which is guess
Hmm.
what? A lot of workforces. And I've, been director of workforce development for organizations. I've spent hundreds of hours doing resumes, and I have, other little companies that work in this area. And then Ash and I, we have AshRand Career Solutions, where we come on and just help you with this stuff. And Ash, I know where we have originally met was me helping you get into another employment situation,
Yep.
and she did successfully. And now she's got you tell it.
Yes, no, so I'll tell you guys that story. First off, I had just moved to a new area, and just like everyone else, you're lost, right? You don't necessarily know where you can go, especially if you were not um born and raised in a certain community. So
Mhm.
you don't know anyone. And so I end up reaching out to Randy Outerbridge, 'cause at that time he was a director of workforce development, and I needed help. And he was able to help me not only revise my resume, but then also help connect to some open opportunities that were in the area. And because I went through a lot when I was trying to figure out what that looked like for me, I thought that maybe I can be able to help people just like Randy helped me. So that was kind of my motivator to become a currently right now I'm a career strategist, certified career coach and resume writer because it's so important to me that people not only find what they truly love but then also get paid well for that. And so that's how I end up making that happen for me. It was just simply Randy helping me out and so I wanted to do the same for others.
Yeah, and you own some stuff, so let's not bury that. I mean, you own what's the name of it again?
Yes, so I am the owner and founder of Connections Career Planning and Services, and really just helping people kind of coach them through their roles, entry level, mid level, and helping them write their resumes just to make sure that they are prepared. And then I also have professional development workshops as well that kind of aligns with career empowerment, salary negotiation tips, because we know that is always so hard to talk about,
Mhm.
and just simply being able to know how to write a resume for the youth. And so that's kind of what my workshops are more like. And then aside from that, I also am the creator and founder of my tech company, Defined, which creates different tools for career development. And so, yeah, working on the app
Yeah,
at the moment, and
yeah.
still Randy and I are working on some stuff together as well.
We
So it's
we
going to
got
be
some
great.
stuff for you, in fact,
Hmm.
that's done. So when we
Yeah.
think about this, right, what we've been able to do is notice that people are out there doing some weird stuff, quitting in the wrong way. We're gonna be we're gonna be talking. I think we'll get to those, but man, there's some ways to quit, and then there's some ways to reignite, to get back going, if you will, right? We talk
Hmm.
about in here. We're going to be going over the buy the book quit, the grateful quit, the in the loop quit, right? The perfunctory quit, the avoidant quit. We've got our hope, and we got the impulsive one, and I think we've been on the end of, I don't know about you, but I've been
Hmm.
on the end of a couple of these where you go, I've worked a day here and I think that's enough. You know?
Oh.
And then we had the bridge burning. It's like I'm burning this whole thing down. All of y'all stink. So, you
No.
thought you had your screw you money together, and then you found out, oh my gosh, the screw you money don't last as long as. So you burn all the bridge. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit. We're going to talk about that, but let's get into the buy the book quit.
Hmm.
And you see here that this becomes like the default one. It's that
Hmm.
in-person announcement. You just tell everybody, hey, I'm going to be bouncing out of here. Is there anything y'all need before I go? But here's one of the things that we do know. This is when you want to avoid it. If your experiences were negative, don't sit there and lie to folks. Have you ever been in a situation like that? You go, that person hated everybody, and they're saying, you've never worked with a better group of people in my life. Who
It,
does
it,
that?
and it is just so interesting when you do buy the book and instead of kind of having that communication prior to, it's like you're just like, hey, this is it. This is my 2 weeks. How can I help transition out of that?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's some strategies that you could have utilized to help you bridge that gap and make sure that that transition was well. Not to say by the book is not a great way, but I'm saying there's other ways too. And we're going to talk more about that.
Yeah, and we're going to pull some of these, some of the things that we're talking to you about today in this workshop is just some things to consider as you go.
Mhm.
Maybe it is some workplace etiquette, some workplace quitting etiquette, and some workplace a job getting etiquette. So, the graceful quit, going above and beyond. Now, let's think about that one for a minute. We got the standard notice. I remember when I was leaving a position, I wrote up and told them that I appreciated them because I did. And I
Mhm.
gave them more than enough time. In fact, it says I can give you up to X amount. So now you can decide on that. And I
Absolutely.
was leaving to go to entrepreneurship. So it wasn't like I needed to go over there and, start at Joe Blow's somebody else's company. But this is the one thing, right? It says that it demonstrates a true professional, especially because you no longer have any skin in the game and still you can leave. Now, here's what to avoid. If you've had trust issues with your manager, again, just leave.
Yeah.
Just leave. You don't have to go, oh my gosh, and working with Phil was awesome. Phil's going to be like, I couldn't stand you and you couldn't stand me. You just don't have to do that. You can gracefully quit and just leave. Ash, what do you think about the in the loop quit?
And so with that in the loop quip, this is the style that you let your manager know early that you're exploring other opportunities. And essentially, and I have done the in the loop quit, given 3 months before I was willing to transition. And I was very transparent as to why I was transitioning as well.
Yeah.
And then essentially my previous supervisor became my biggest supporter
Isn't
when
that
I was
something?
keeping them in the loop. So it was very helpful for me, especially when I needed a reference as I transitioned over.
And then, good relationships you want to maintain, save the surprise formal notice. I mean, some things you don't do, you try to avoid it when things are going good. But if things are going well, this becomes our opportunity. Like, again, we want to talk to you about this kind of stuff because we don't want you out there just trashing things simply because those people that you do on the way up, they remember it when they go, I'm here with you because my situation has changed. So we're very careful, especially in certain spaces, right? They used to say that about Hollywood. You never
Yeah.
know that the people that you treated badly, now they're producers
And
because their
so
situation changed.
And no, absolutely. And then if again, although the in the loop quit seems like the best strategy as well, if you're not on good terms with your manager and they are going to react negatively, this is the one again you want to avoid because you just want to have a smoother transition and you don't want that surprise or you don't want your current manager to put how should I say this, a target on your back because you kept them in on the loop, right? So
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
want to avoid this if you don't have that transparency or that
Mhm.
type of relationship with your manager.
That's a good one. And the perfunctory quit, right? I remember when I was putting this together, I was like, okay, I remember what perfunctory means, but look at this. It talks about it.
Yep.
Standard notice without detailed explanation,
Hmm.
right? And if you feel that your employer would cause problems or attempt to interfere with your next job, this is recommended. Now, tell me that don't happen. You're like, oh my gosh, they're getting ready to leave us. Where are they going?
Hmm.
And then they might know somebody or whatever the hell you don't want to work with them. So they may be out there, and this is unfortunate. And if it's you, I'm looking you in the eye and I'm saying,
Hmm.
stop that.
Please.
Don't poison the well, but understand that it does happen. So, if that's the case, try to value the relationship. That's one of the key things. Try to value the relationship. But what about this one? We got people that just, I just want to avoid any potential mess. What do you think about the
Now,
avoidant quit?
now ready? I had to leave this way, right? Because I did have a manager at one point that I knew was going to react negatively because I was such a great team player, not to try to pat myself on the back, but saying like I put a lot into that organization
Yeah.
to the point where, they wanted to keep me, but not allow me to grow. And
Hmm.
so again, with the avoid and quit, you just want to resign via email, the written notice, and then there's just moments when this can be appropriate to do when your boss is traveling. If your boss travel or is completely unreachable, you send an email and just like, yep, this is my 2 week
Hmm.
notice. And then kind of go about it that way. But it's just you don't want to use this way to avoid a conversation you actually need to have. So,
Yeah.
say for
Yeah.
instance, there's a interesting situation with your manager, and you have to be honest about what the environment looks like, right? If you
Correct.
have to have that conversation, have it. But if so, the avoidant quit. You could kind of utilize that if you don't
Yeah.
need to have that
Yeah.
conversation.
And again, because you may, depending on your age, you may find yourself in different job situations. Now, you
Hmm.
may find yourself in different company situations because, again, we talked about how AI is affecting a lot of things. And you may just get like all pissed off at AI and then, want to throw fingers up and all that kind of stuff. Let's stop that, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you just go, hey, I understand, I got to bounce because I found another situation or I've got some skill sets that could be used somewhere else. So here's what I'm going to do. But again, you're being a man or woman about it and not just using I need to avoid this conversation. They're going to try to talk me out of it. Mm-mm. We're past them stages.
We are.
Now this one, you're escaping. You got to go. Who's experienced that? If you've experienced that before, I'm gonna have you, even though we can't see you, raise your hand. This is the emergency exit only.
Yes.
You're not planning, you're not telling, you're not sharing, you're just leaving. Now, here's when it's justified. If your employment has a history of unethical behavior or has created a truly toxic environment for you, they know you're gonna quit, maybe they're ghosting you. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I'm not going into work because they're going to quit. I don't want them to quit. But again, here's the downside. This can absolutely affect your reputation. We want to use this in extreme circumstances. Now, if you notice, we're talking about here's how you leave, the art of leaving,
Mm-hmm.
not the skill, because we don't want you always leaving stuff, but the art of leaving. And now I want you also to think about how you can utilize this in various situations. Now, you see that what we're explaining are principles around workforce
Mm-hmm.
and work. But ask yourself a deeper question. Can I use this in other situations? Maybe a business arrangement, maybe a personal relationship. Not, hey, I'm not in your life, but perhaps. So I want you to be able to see this from that perspective as well. Or if you get this and you want to get it from us, and we've got some specific notes in here, and you want to send it to somebody who needs this information, well, that's yours as well to do. What about this one? Burn it all down.
Light the match before, right after, and just kind of pass along. Yeah. The burn, then bridges quit. That one is interesting. And I know how many of you have experienced that one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You've worked at a
Yeah.
spot and you're just going, some smells fishy around here. Something's going on, right? And
Yep.
depending on your level of where you're coming from and where you've been, you may notice that, right? The SEC investigation around a company, it's not your fault, but these folks around here are doing some bad stuff, and you just like, I'm out. That might be an opportunity for you to use this quit. We wanted to share this with you because we know that it happens. It just happens, and we want you to at least have the ability to say, well, maybe there's some alternatives, but in this case, maybe not.
And so, honestly, with this method, now we can understand that it can be tempting when you feel like you have been mistreated. But honestly, the truth is, those moments of fire kind of stay with you long
Yeah.
after you walk out that door. Your name, your reputation, your integrity, they're too valuable to risk.
Yeah.
So, and you always want to protect yourself. So, again, if it's to a point where you don't mind burning that bridge, absolutely, but think twice about that one.
And so let's transition to how how do I leave? How do I leave a job? How do I leave a
Mhm.
relationship? Or
Yeah,
how do I leave a business situation? See how we told you that these are principles, and these principles can be applied into different situations. You got to be crafty. Let's see. Here it is. 2 weeks minimum. What do you think about that, Ash?
2 weeks minimum is definitely the standard and has been the standard for a while. Now, rather, a lot of the current market is utilizing that standard is another question. Um, but again, it all is always standard to give that 2 weeks notice. And can we pause for 2 seconds, Randy? Right now on the screen, we see why this book matters and not anything else. I don't know if you see the same thing that I see.
Tell me.
Yeah. Okay. Roll a little bit more here. Okay. So again, um, leaving well is just extremely important, and it is always that standard to make sure that it gives you time to not just wrap up, but to give your team time to transition. Because although you may have some issues with leadership and you've built great relationships with your colleagues, you always want to make sure that they have exactly what they
Yeah.
need. So,
And you remember the title?
hmm.
The Art of Leaving Well.
Yeah,
Well,
you're right.
2 weeks
Okay.
response, 2 weeks of helping somebody else transition. I think we actually have a slide. Maybe we'll get to that one. It just gives your organization time
Hmm.
to replace your butt. You may have been valued, even though they
Absolutely.
may have never said it. And that's kind of a managerial thing. And if you're a manager out there and you're not saying it to your direct reports, shame on you. Right?
And
Like I said, as an
honestly,
organizational, as an OD practitioner, as they call
yeah.
us, right? An organizational development practitioner, we understand what makes organizations sick. And it's usually one person in there doing bad stuff. And some
Mhm.
bad stuff could be not doing the kind of stuff that makes your people feel appreciated, period.
Absolutely.
If you're not making them feel appreciated, then they're going to be like, you know what? Nobody cares about me and what I do.
No.
And then they bounce. And they may or may not give you that time. So think about that. So here are some essentials. What do you think about these, Ash? In your experiences,
Hmm.
what does number one speak to you about?
So writing that email or that letter when you are transitioning, you always want to thank them for the opportunity because
Mhm.
regardless of the situation, I'm sure you learned something new. You build some skills because that's essentially what you want to do. Any type of role that you get into, you
Mhm.
want to make sure that you're building your skill set, right? And so you just want to share something brief, a positive reason for leaving, if that is a positive one, because again, we want to be transparent and ensure just to help with the transition and clearly state your last day and check with HR, look at the handbook as well
Mhm.
to make sure you can look at, what does it look like to liquidate any PTO or benefits so that you can stay
That
ahead
part.
of that game. But yeah, just making sure that when you have those essentials, that having that resignation letter, you have that thank you have that reason for leaving, and your transition date.
Gosh, that's so good. And then explaining why, always important, right?
Hmm.
Hey, I remember the last place that I had worked as a non 1099 employee, right? Because I'm 1099. I
Yeah.
believe about the 1099 life, y'all. So I gave the reason why. Hey, I'm deciding to throw my hat into entrepreneurship 100%, 10 toes down. Well, back then they did, that wasn't a saying, but anyway, 10 toes down into entrepreneurship. And this is why I'm leaving. So that there could have been some other reasons, but
Yeah.
that's what I said. You know? So that, and then I says, I'll help train whoever you want. If you're going to be bringing some people in, that's great. And I clearly did that, and then gave them the date and time. That's which is good stuff. But
Amazing.
here's what we have to do. Like this guy here, he looks like a pro. We gotta, we gotta, we literally can't go in there all frazzled and saying, AI is coming, I'm out of here. Right? If
Yep.
that's one of the reasons you're leaving, or my other job needs me right now. You've got to play it cool. You could be making 3 times as much more money, but we don't go in there and brag. You don't go in there showing, hey, and I'm happy to get out of here. I can't wait. How many more days? Don't do that.
Don't,
So
don't.
we maintain our composure, stay professional,
Hmm.
and then remembering that people are going to remember how you made them feel after you were leaving or during that time. So these are some of the arts of leaving well.
Absolutely. And
And
just
then
remember
letting
your
people know, right?
emotional. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm saying in this part right here, tell me how you notified your network when you were moving to different situations.
And so for me, um, I'd usually have a conversation um with the supervisor or my leader at the time first before having personal conversations with the whole team.
Hmm.
Especially the people that were closest to me, because to be honest, the ones that were closest to me, if I was looking for a role, they kind of already knew that. But essentially having that conversation with leadership initially before talking to the rest of my colleagues. And then I updated my connections on LinkedIn. That's something that I really leaned into as well when I'm trying to notify my network that I'm transitioning over, because I do understand, or that's something to kind of consider, is that relationships truly matter. You don't just disappear without saying goodbye, right? So you want to make sure that everyone's in the know when you are transitioning. So notifying your network is extremely imperative when you want to maintain those professional relationships to grow your network.
And what a wonderful opportunity, too. I'll give you an example. So I had worked with
Hmm.
this lady before, and I was like, man, I saw her at an event this weekend.
Hmm.
And I was like, God, dog, I wish I had her email. And then I went home, looked in Gmail, and found out that, oh my gosh, same email, because she's still at this organization.
Yeah.
Same email. So now I have an ability to stay in contact. But some of this stuff you can avoid simply by giving them the farewell email, sharing your contact information, not necessarily to the new job, because they'll find you anyway. They'll be on LinkedIn looking to see, when you're going to get a new job or when your next situation occurred or whatever it is. And I remember, here's another example. I remember I was leaving a situation to start a business, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about with, I said, I'm going to go 10 toes down. Well, this place I was going, it was with the idea that I was going to buy it. So I said, I'm going to work there. I'm going to embed myself into it. So I kind of learned the situation, right? Once I got in there, I discovered that the stuff that he was telling me about, when he was, hey, I want to sell this business. As I started, thank goodness I worked there. I literally came in every day,
Hmm.
just kind of looking at how things were running, seeing how he operated, all these different things, and found out, oh my gosh, this was a hot mess.
Yep.
Now I had left and was letting had left the other organization and said, "Hey, I'm going to go do this thing." And then 6 months later, I didn't buy that business.
Yeah.
So now I'm out in the streets, saying, "Hey, I'm over here," and they're going, "I thought you were leaving for the." So just understand that notifying your network is going to be one thing, but keeping them up to date, that also could be beneficial for you.
And there's other times where I have even asked some of my personal contacts to meet me for a coffee
Yeah,
to tell so I can notify them about my transitions as well. So either catching them at any event that I know that they're going to be at, sending a quick message, or just asking them to come out for coffee so I can let them know that I'm transitioning.
that's good stuff.
Hmm.
We want to be always positioned, everybody, so that you complete your stuff. The art of leaving well means you tie up loose ends.
Yep.
You show gratitude. We talked a little bit about that. Get done what you started.
Hmm.
Leaving somebody with a half done project is just irresponsible.
Yeah.
What about documenting processes and procedures? Well, you're supposed to have standard operating procedures anyway, or are you just going to go, you know what? They're on their own. Don't be that person because somebody's out there going to be in those streets saying, they left me a mess and I didn't know what to do next. And here's what ends up happening: the organization probably hired your replacement so that they can come in and not have to have a lot of instruction, but everybody needs them. What if you just did such a good job of leaving them instruction on what to do next? Organize your file and resources. I mean, you don't got to hold their hand, but come
Yeah.
on. How many times
And
we come
Randy,
into a situation that's just been a mess?
that's true. And Randy, me coming from the nonprofit sector, where when you're serving, there's always something to be done.
Yeah.
So I essentially, what I would do when I leave is, even if everything is not completed, I'll tell them what needs to be done moving forward.
Hmm.
Like, hey,
Hmm.
this is where I'm at. This is the status. This is who you need to connect with to complete this task, and so forth and so on. So I'll leave a clean and clear step-by-step guide on how to complete things.
That is so good.
Mhm.
And what about if they say, now this is a tough one. So I
Yeah.
know somebody's been in a position where it was like, well, I haven't left yet. And you're already training somebody. But I mean, this is if you're leaving.
Yeah.
What about this, Ash?
So if you haven't left yet and you're leaving, that's perfect,
Mm,
because the person you are transitioning things over to can kind of work alongside you. And if they start to take on some of the tasks that you're leaving behind, they can ask you the direct questions, right? So that they can successfully complete some of that work. Um, so that's kind of what I think can happen if you haven't quite left yet, and you're still trying to get things completed. Start to talk to leadership to see who's going to be taking over, and
mhm.
just kind of have them walk alongside you.
That's a good one. I like the idea too of creating things for them. Now, what I would strongly recommend, and this is a gym, so I've been dropping gems in these lives I've been doing every night. So I'm sorry, I just infused it in here. So create stuff for them.
Hmm.
Now, you may think, that's gonna be a lot of work. Not anymore. You can go and use Loom, right? You can use something that literally, tracks what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Imagine that
Hmm.
you had Loom up, right? And as you did your work, you just, and obviously not sensitive information, but you just says, okay, so here's what I'm doing next. And then what I typically do is transition this way.
Hmm.
And then that person has a video they can watch. Now, I do some of this for, training virtual assistants or something like that sometimes. But if they're real quick, they'll pick up on stuff anyway. And then you tell them, hey, you make me a standard operating procedure, right? Instead of you doing it. But in this case, because you're leaving a position, what a wonderful gift that you
Hmm.
can leave, especially if you're leaving on a positive note, that you say, and I put together a 6 video series that shows you how. Wait,
Absolutely.
what? Six
Yeah.
videos? So all you got to do is watch them, do the work, rewind, watch again, do the work. What an awesome opportunity.
That's an amazing gym, Randy, because again, oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. I'm sorry. Because it's like, that's the most efficient way to train your replacement. right? Like that is amazing
Yeah.
because they can rewatch it as many times as they
Yeah.
need. Oh, wait, I forgot that one step. No, Randy left that in the video.
Yeah.
That's
That's
perfect.
it.
That's a perfect
And
example.
there's so many cool things you can do with the video now because we've got
Hmm.
tools and technologies that allow us to take out of the video itself the words.
Absolutely.
And then from the words, we can load them up into some, I'm getting a little technical on y'all, but I'm just giving you the real deal. Now, imagine this. Now, this one right here, this is another gem. Let's say you're just so good at your job. I mean, you've been doing this thing for like 188 years and nobody could do it as good as you. Well, you know what that means about you? You're never going to get a raise. You're
Yeah.
never going to get a bump up. Why? Because nobody can do it as good as you. I'm not going to say raise, but nobody's going to promote you. They need you too much. The
Yeah.
moment you say, you know what I need to do is train my replacement so I can go get that other position, even within the company. So imagine if, given the fact that you got permission and there's no sensitive information, you did your own standard operating procedure on your job.
Absolutely.
So then when you went to the bosses and says, "Hey, I think it's time that y'all promote me," and they go, "We can't promote you," and you go, "I put it all right here. The
Hmm.
robot can do it, or that person can do it, whatever." I like this one. What are your thoughts? A exit interview.
Oh yeah. An exit interview. So I absolutely love that one. Um, because it allows you to really be able to talk about exactly what you experience, some insights, not really too much on the complaining side, but just sharing what you've learned and what worked and what could be helpful for them moving forward. Like, I think this is a great way um, to kind of exit and transition. And so it's essentially giving a live feedback survey, right? It's just letting them
Mhm.
know, hey, this is what I've learned. This is some things that probably need some assistance. And again, just leave them better than what you found them on your
Yeah,
way out. So
that's and it's also just maintaining the relationship.
yeah.
And one of the other things, I even do this if I'm leaving a tool software. I'll tell, like, there was a software that I was like, I gotta break up with you, and they're like, why are you leaving us? Like, well, this tool over here, and sometimes you just gotta be honest, because they'll ask you sometimes when you're leaving like a tool or whatever it is, they'll say, leaving for something else, leaving for whatever. They'll give you like a list of things, and then they'll say other. And if there's other, then let it be known. I let a tool know that I says, look, I'm leaving because you are making it just a little more difficult than it has to be based on new tools to stay.
Yeah.
And I mean, we no longer have to go through all this because that tool over there, sometimes I'll mention it, sometimes I won't. This tool, just like our orders of magnitude different or
Hmm.
easier. So at least you let them know, oh, we need to get on our game and improve. And every now and then, Ash, I'll get an email saying, hey, we took this poll and we found out that we weren't keeping up to blah blah blah, and we're different. Give us another shot.
See, and I love that, Randy, because with me for a while, I wouldn't say a while, but for one job opportunity, I didn't think giving an exit interview would help only because I'm like, yeah, I can sit up here and tell them what needs to happen, or I can tell them what I
This is what y'all
learned and
need to
nothing
do.
changes, right? And I found that not to be true. So with you saying that you got a email back saying like, hey, this is something that we're working on, that's amazing. That so
Mhm.
sometimes even though when you don't think they're not really gonna take heed of feedback, just request that exit interview anyway and give that feedback anyway, because it'll be helpful.
So we like to, continually express gratitude You do too. We want to express gratitude for you watching this long. This workshop is designed to give you some ins and outs, plain and simple. Not only on the art of leaving well, but then we're going to transition into some things to do when you're out there in these streets trying to get work and all that,
Hmm.
right? But little things, a little note, personal note, a team message, they leave lasting impressions.
Hmm.
But now let's talk about some do's and don'ts.
Yeah, yeah. So, short list on do's, right? Do ensure to follow policies because that's extremely important, just like I had mentioned before. Return all equipment because that's
Don't
important.
be
You
taking
don't want
that
to be paying for
laptop
that.
home.
Right? Don't keep that laptop, guys. Like turn that in. You want to finish strong, and again, protect your professional reputation. It is
Yeah.
just extremely important. So that's why you have to follow those dues. Randy, you want to tell us the don'ts?
Yeah, I can tell you. And you got to be very, very careful about this because if you spent a lot of time at an organization, you've probably co created with them. But because they've been giving you a check, guess who owns it? They do. So you may go, wait a minute, that's my SOP.
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe not. Especially if you're working like in an organization, let's say a university situation. The university says, mm-mm, we own that. And you have to really read the bylaws. I remember there have been times where I said, you know what? On the slides, if I'm creating like some kind of presentation with, I'll say co-created by, co-created with. And I had an organization, get this, tell me. I said, look, this is kind of like my stuff from what I know, from what I've learned,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And he says, no, we own that now.
Yep.
And it was one of the reasons why I was like, well, I'm out of here because
Yep.
I'm giving blood, sweat, and tears. You're giving me a check, not that big of a check, and not enough for me to justify. Let's see if I got this right. In order for me to stay here, not get fired, I got to give you all of my intellectual doings and property.
Not
Yeah,
my
bro.
IP.
I don't think so. And I can't like say, we do this together. So think about that. You don't want to go wiping your computer clean,
Hmm.
right? Because they can get you for that. You like you destroy. You've seen it in the news before. You destroyed property. They'll get you. You can't go around saying, uh, well, I own all this information, so therefore it's mine. Mm-mm, stealing. They can get you for that.
Hmm.
Sabotage. You're all done. So you're saying, I'm not showing up to seal the deal on that deal. No, follow through. Bad mouth the company or colleagues. Well, there's some slander laws that says, mm-mm. And you don't
Hmm.
know in your employment contract, you could have signed a don't talk about us.
Yep.
do not
NDA.
do not disclose whatever. I'm
Yep.
serious.
Hmm.
That's something you really have to watch out for. And then, okay, so you're just gonna mail it in the last couple of weeks. Don't do that. Let's get out there and be of great service, everybody. It is critical for what you're doing and for what you want to be going, the opportunities to go to somewhere else later. And here's what's interesting. If you do right by the company, you'll expect others will do right by you too. Right? So you don't go, well, anybody's coming in, they're going to leave me like I left them. You don't need that stuff. Now, when to quit when you got nothing. You getting ready to go sip tea and become a photographer for, whatever. What happens then? Ash, what do you think about that?
If you are going to quit without anything lined up, or if you're going into photography, just make sure you have some kind of plan, right? Um, if it comes down to a point where if staying where you currently are is doing more harm than good, make sure you have some kind of
Hmm.
plan. Do not
Hmm.
have that impulsive quit. If your health, your confidence, and your values are suffering and it's time to walk away, that's great. Choosing
That part.
yourself is just not quitting, but it's alignment. But you want to make sure that you have a plan.
And yet it seems like without another job, you may start sensing things. You're like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
this company is atrophying my skills, making them get worse.
Yeah.
So you have a career trajectory, let's say, or you've gotten more degrees, and the job itself is stifling your ability to express yourself in that particular way. That might be a chance and a time to leave. Now, AshRand, this is why we say career, we talk about business, and
Hmm.
we talk about life. You see it right there in our banner, right? AshRand Career Solutions. That's what we're about. Now, this is a transition moment, and we're
Hmm.
going to dive deeper into that. I can tell you what, we can dive deeper into that. We've got some information for you. Let me go ahead and stop share real quick.
Yep.
We have the opportunity to share even more with you and dig deeper into this relationship between you, your career, your job, and life because this stuff affects your life. Don't think it does not. I've seen people that are at the pinnacle, and because they made one strategic bad move, their life is totally affected. They tried to do it a different way. They tried to start a business, but they were career people. Get this,
Hmm.
career people. They're used to getting a check every 2 weeks. They don't know how to wait for a check for 2 months in a business situation, and it affects their whole life. That's why when we decided to collaborate on, AshRand Career Solutions, we says, hey, we might want to include career, yes,
Hmm.
but we also want to start speaking to people that want to start things because
Yep.
we can show you how to start, make money so that it can fund your business. And then we also have experience in our own life, ways that
Absolutely.
we make our life work for, get the work for the business or the job. That's why we included it all. So I want to invite you, everybody, into more of this. Now we will do the second half and dive deeper into it, but only if you want it. We'll leave links for you. I
Mhm.
got put together a nice little flip book. I call it a visual book. You can go ahead and grab that. We may or may not have that for just a couple of bucks. Might be free. Depends. We'll see. We'll make that available for you. If that's something that you want to do, go ahead and click somewhere along here. We'll leave all the links for you. If that's something you don't want to do, then we're going to wish you well out there fighting against AI and all that's coming.
You're
I'm
gonna
just
want
going to be
to.
100 with it.
No, listen, I'm gonna be 100. These links and these resources is gonna help jumpstart. You don't want to start with no resources or no help, okay? So please take a look at it. And if it's something you want to keep, fine. But if you want to go out there on your own, just like Randy said, and go against AI, that's on you. But we've went through the trials and tribulations, so we're trying to save you from the same.
Yeah, I don't recommend being out there in these streets,
At all.
not without understanding of the elements. Now, again, we both do things in the tech space. We both do things in the business space, and we both have work situations. So we want to be able to transition you no matter what you want to do. But it's all 100% up to you. We're not going to force you to do nothing,
No.
right? But we have lots of information, inside dope, if you will, on how to do these things. If that's what you're down with, then come on aboard and let's do it. Fair enough? Okay,
Today's
well,
the
we'll
day.
see you on the inside then.